Hello, everyone. It's me, Freddie C. Not Jared this time. Unfortunately, Jared has been attacked by the Krytos virus. He is the first human. He is subject zero or
Mm.
patient zero, as they say, for the human transmission of the Krytos
You
virus.
know,
He's going to be okay, though.
are we sure that
He's going to be
Jared's
okay.
human?
That's an
Questionable.
excellent point.
It's
He
Are
might be a
possible.
we?
Bothan.
He
He
might
might
be
be
a
a shaved
Bothan.
Bothan.
He's
Yeah.
yeah, or maybe he's like whatever Farfalla is, and he's got those goat hooves.
Ooh, true. We never,
Oh,
most of us don't see the lower half of Jared, so
Yeah.
there's a high,
half
high chance.
Boston.
Mm-hmm.
High chance. Because that's, Farfalla. I
Yep.
could see it.
It's
I met Jared in real life, but he was wearing pants.
yeah, and
There is
the
a decided lack of rippling fur, though, I will say.
Oh, yeah.
In Jared's
Yeah.
defense,
I mean
not
he does
super
like to run,
Boston-esque.
so maybe it's because of that
You
inverted
know,
kneecap
that's true.
thing.
That's right.
I don't
That's
know.
right.
Definitely
Uh,
forgot about that. Thanks
Yep.
for that.
Yeah. So as we, hopefully Jared get better, please get well soon.
Yes.
And since you're not here, I'm gonna ask Rick something.
Mm.
Rick,
Yes,
today's a special day for you and many people in this world.
it really is.
And I want you to have the honors to tell us what day it is and a couple things about what it is. Just go. I'm not
Yes.
going to spoil it.
All right, so today is Disney Plus Day, which is actually it is, but it's also Star Trek Day. Woo! Yeah, Star Trek.
Yay!
Bow, ba-da, bow. Yeah, so super excited about Star Trek Day. Just real quick, I just want to say thank you to Star Trek because there was many sci-fi that came before Star Wars and before Star Trek too, but Star Trek, it blazed the path and inspired vision, and I think George Lucas was a little bit inspired by Star Trek. Probably not that much, but it's still a great franchise, and there's so many Star Trek fans, and I just want to say, you don't have to choose one or the other, okay? You can like all of the Star franchises.
Yeah.
So,
It's true. Honestly, you like what you like. If you want someone else to like something that they don't want to like, I mean, I don't know what the deal with that is.
yeah.
But Star Trek holds I would say a very high place in sci-fi because to me it's it's got a little bit of fantasy, but it's very sci-fi centric, right? It's very realistic in a lot of sense where they would get people to review the script and see if like, okay, if this were to happen, what kind of thing would we need? It would be some black box canceller of inertia or something, and it's like, okay, all right, I could see it.
I get
right, where
frustrated.
Star Wars is a different universe. It's its own universe. It is more fantasy, which is what makes Star Wars so Star Warsy, right? You see a lot of fantasy involved in that.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with liking either one. But yeah.
Yeah.
What was your first memory of Star Trek, Rick?
I remember watching it secondhand with my dad growing up, and didn't know what was going on. And actually, I think like Voyager was one of the shows on air at the time, and I couldn't tell it apart from Next Generation or any of the other shows. Just like, oh, it's all Star Trek. It's all Star Trek. And let's see, probably early 2000s. I can't remember what year, but the movie Nemesis came out, and my dad went and saw it. I think on the premiere, and we won a T-shirt. Like I won a T-shirt, and I still have it. It was like an extra large, and so as a kid, it was like, this is useless. I'll never wear it. But now it's like
It's a dress.
Still, yeah, exactly. It's still in my closet, and it's like a Nemesis crew, like from the film crew, and so I was super excited about that. And
That's precious.
I've shared this story before, but like I'm actually a fan of the extended universe and Star Wars because I was book thrifting for Star Trek books. And that's the day I discovered that, there's a whole bunch of adult novels that are for StarArs too. I wonder if they're any good. So
Wow.
I can thank Star Trek for me being more of a Star Wars fan now. So
Cool.
yeah.
That's amazing.
What about you, Emily? What are your thoughts on Star Trek?
On Star Trek, ironically, my husband is more on board with Star Trek than Star Wars, which is very strange to me because he is seriously lacking fundamental plot points in Star Wars. Like we've been over it. I don't have an extensive whiteboard system with which to like draw everything out, but I feel like the basic premise is fairly simple and he doesn't seem able to grasp that. So,
Mm.
but he's all about Star Trek.
That's
So
awesome.
like we watched mostly the newer ones. He hasn't really like the newer like feature films, like not really
Yeah.
the show quite so much.
Mhm.
I watched a little bit of the show, but it was I don't know, parts of it didn't age super well, and I
Yeah.
wasn't at a point to really like I don't know. It wasn't a great time for me, but I'm open to it. I mean, I'm not against it by any means.
Cool.
I feel like it is definitely a launching point into other areas of sci-fi
Yeah.
and fantasy.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah, I remember watching Next Generation with my mom. So
Mm.
you know those kinds of things.
Mhm.
And I watched it. I would never say I was really into it. To me, it was too adult
Yeah.
at the time.
Yeah.
And Star Wars was it. It was like, yeah, this is the one, the one
Mhm.
with the lasers and the
The-
blowing up of planets.
Hello, Jar Jar Binks was so cool. So I mean,
So
seriously
cool.
though,
Jar
as
Jar.
a 8 or 9-year-old or 7, however old I was when it came out, I loved Jar Jar Binks. So yeah, like
Yeah.
as a kid, 100% Star Wars. I got into Star Trek when I was in college, and now that I'm an adult, it's full circle. And
Yeah.
people try to like shame me, and it's like, oh, you're a nerd,
People
and I'm
being
like,
Jared.
not
We can
people.
name
No,
him.
not Jared, but just like people like at church or I know and like my neighbors or whatever. They're
Oh,
like,
okay.
wait, you have a Star Wars podcast? What kind of a dork are you? And I'm like, hold up. I don't go to football games or whatever and be like, look at all those lame jocks or whatever. So you can like
I
what
thought you
wanna
liked
like.
soccer.
Yeah, exactly. So let's just be nice to people, okay?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Agreed. That's
Doesn't-
a great idea.
Doesn't bother me. I like what I like. Star Trek, you know, it I haven't really revisited it in a while, but I still have some memories of certain characters dying, of course,
Mm.
and sending a message to my sister via a friend
Oh.
link, which was like this. I don't know if you guys know what a friend link was. It's basically like the first text messaging ever.
yeah.
It was, I don't even know how it worked. Radio, old school radio. Anyway, memories.
Mhm. That's
Mm.
cool.
Well, with that, and in Jared's memory, hopefully the Krytos virus, he gets enough Bacta and he gets back to his health here. Let's get on with the show, shall we?
Indeed. One more
Let's
thing
do
I want
it.
to say. I just want to say it's a great time to be a sci-fi fan because
Oh, yeah.
all the franchises are getting new shows. Star Wars is getting new
Very
stuff. Star
true.
Trek, even Stargate, Battlestar Galactica. Well, I don't know about that. Anyway,
Well,
Babylon
it's
5.
mainstream now.
Everything. Yeah. So it's a great time
And
to
the fantasy,
be a sci-fi fan.
fantasy era or genre too, right?
Yeah,
You got
for
some
sure.
Yeah, Game of Thrones.
Rings
House
of
the
Power
Dragon.
and a bunch
Yeah.
of other stuff. Cool.
Yeah. Okay. Now we can move.
We
on.
love everyone. Let's get to it.
Yes, that's the one. I'm gonna press the button. Right.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Legends Lookback. Partly proud of the. See, I didn't rehearse this, guys.
How-
Sorry. Proudly part of the Utini Podcast Network, a Star Wars books podcast for people who get knocked down, but they get up again. You get knocked down.
They
You get up
do.
again.
They do.
Because you're never
Okay,
going to
you
keep
did-
him
okay.
down. Because we're here to celebrate the rich EU history as well as dive into lesser-known Star Wars classics. I'm your host, Freddie C., joined by our legendary guests. Like I said, Jared is not here at this moment. He has the Krytos virus, if you did not listen to the cold open. But with us today, we have Emily Daybeck.
Hello, hello.
How are you doing today, Emily?
Oh, I'm doing really well. I went out of town for Labor Day weekend last weekend, and for some reason, all of my jokes fell flat. And it was a very deeply concerning feeling. I don't know if you've experienced something where you're like, yeah, I'm pretty funny, I'm pretty fun, and then like no one laughs at your jokes.
Oh.
I was like, it was an existential crisis. It was
Mm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
who
Yeah.
am I? Like, what
Yeah.
what is my purpose here?
I'm supposed
anyway.
to be the funny one.
Yeah.
Oh, I've decided. I guess my job is to laugh. My role is to laugh at everybody else's jokes,
That's fair.
especially my
I
husband.
like that.
Key
Nice.
to
I
a
like
good
that.
relationship, laughter. Anyway,
Yes.
Well, hopefully
moving on from
hopefully
your
we have a
non-funniness.
jokester here though. No, we have a jokester here.
Yes.
And I would say if there's one person on this legendary list of co-hosts here, he is the king of dad jokes, I would say.
Mm,
And I
100%.
would say if Emily, I know you're very dad joke centric there. It's not a it's like eating sushi for some. It's a palate thing, right? Only
Mm,
certain people understand. What do you think,
mhm.
Rick? Our other guest, how are you doing, buddy? King jokes of all time.
Yes, thank you. Man, that was a whirlwind of the past 30 seconds. I went from smiling to like crying a little. Because all right, so
Why? Why are you crying?
yeah, wow. We're just gonna get into some therapy here real quick.
Oh, no, are
Emily,
you okay?
no,
I
no,
wasn't laughing at you.
no,
Are
no,
you
no,
okay?
no, 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 yeah, totally good, totally good.
Okay.
You were talking about your jokes not landing, and I almost like made a joke at you, but then I was like, I've been there, and that's really painful. And then it brought back a high school memory of when
Oh.
all my friends would like pretend to keep count of all my bad jokes, and it really hurt, guys.
Oh, I'm
So
sorry,
yeah,
Rick.
hey, but it's okay because you guys laugh at my jokes and all that, so it's all good.
We do.
But I just man, that was a whirlwind. So, but thank you guys for
Mm.
supporting me.
Did you
Oh,
take
absolutely,
count
man.
of all the teeth you knocked out too?
Oh no, I
Just
didn't
like,
didn't
yeah.
knock out any teeth. Didn't knock out. I should have, but I've always made fun of myself, and so I kind of gave
Yeah.
them permission. So
Yeah.
that's how
Well,
it goes.
You're a good sport,
You
man.
know, violence is not always the answer, but for the Republic, they're trying to.
Mm.
What are we talking about here today? We're talking about the Krytos Trap,
That's right.
right?
Mm,
So, what do you think this book read to you guys as? Is this your first time, first of all, or is this your second time?
first time for me.
Okay,
And
So
this was
go ahead, Rick.
the first for me as well. I wasn't sure if I'd read it or not, but after reading it this time, I was like, yeah, definitely the first time. So
Mm,
Okay, so definitely multi reread here. It's one of my favorite series. I love X-wing, but the difference this time around is we lived in a time of a pretty intense virus.
yeah,
mm,
We were all in
very
quarantine.
true.
A majority of us were in quarantine for a while, and it was a time of old reads and getting back into Legends, which is that's kind of where Jared and I came to. It's like, okay, well, going back to the old stuff, right? Going back to the memories, the Star Trek memories, the
Mm.
getting made fun of your friends and knocking their teeth out
Come on.
memories. And
Who
then
doesn't have
then-
one of those?
coming into memories of this book, for me, it reads very differently.
Mm.
It reads
It
very
really
differently.
does. It completely
Yes.
changes the tone of the whole book because we basically
Totally.
like lived a less violent virus, but like
Hmm.
for a while the same fear of misinformation and no one knew what was going on or what would help. And we were, I mean, the same like the fear and the desperation I definitely identify with in a new level after like COVID-19. So
Mhm.
And in Rick, that was kind of a weird segue because I'm not quite into the main show yet. But that's like the thing about comedy is it seems to be needed at a time when there's a lot of darkness and
mm.
if there is a lot of darkness, it penetrates the darkness just a bit. So Emily, don't lose faith. I bet you still got it. You're probably gonna make some on this
Yes.
show.
Yes.
I hope so, man. I'm like lost.
Hey,
What?
it's all good.
It's all right.
It's all right.
We
A
all
couple
have our
dad
slump.
jokes from Rick. I'll perk right back up.
Yeah.
Rick
There
and
you
I
go.
crack each other up behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Like Jared and Freddie, you guys have like the main show going, and Rick and I have like this like understream going. We're just like laughing at each other's little one-liners.
And sometimes
It
I
is-
send Freddie dirty jokes that I hear in my head. So
Really?
We send each
I
other a
did
lot of
not
jokes,
know that.
Yeah.
like the moist joke.
Oh my
That one landed
gosh.
really well.
Yep.
We
Yep.
hopefully you have that clip again so we can play it. Since Jared is not here,
Oh man.
it's different taking the reins. So whatever it takes, we're gonna get to it. So let's get into the main show here. Uh,
Mm,
One of the big questions after going through this thing that we did, it was a global lockdown, right? Everybody
mhm.
was locking down, governments all over the place, and there's still governments today that are doing the same thing, and it's kind of intense in some aspects. But we didn't experience anything like the Krytos trap.
True.
You know,
Oh
the
no.
Krytos trap is affects a certain, or it affects aliens basically, not humans.
Mhm.
It's weird, or other species other than human. There you go. That's probably more accurate. Uh, Other species, and it's incredibly violent. I think, let's see, Rick, Emily, one of you describe what it's like, what the book describes the Krytos virus as, because it's pretty intense.
Hmm.
Yeah, well, so it starts off with like sores, right?
I think so.
And then it eventually like turns you crazy with pain. I'm pretty sure it activates all of your nerve cells, like your pain receptors. And then you turn into jelly, like it liquefies you.
Ugh.
It kind of reminds me of like, in the Stranger Things, like was it season 2? I don't remember, but
Mm.
it's like jelly creature of
Mm-hmm.
like dissolved bodies. That's kind of what came to mind, like what the Krytos virus does to a non-human.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That was like a pretty gross picture. I didn't have anything else in my head. So like that's what my brain supplied to me is like the visual
Mm-hmm.
for what this does,
Uh-huh.
but it's a horrifying disease. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rick, what were your takeaways? Like, was that about what it was?
I think so. I think that there's like organ failure, like systemic, everything just you
Yeah.
just die.
Shuts
Um,
down. Yeah.
but as you're talking, my image of Jelly Person is
Yeah.
one of the early X-Men movies, where the guy gets that mutant gene, like the senator who's anti-mutants, and he gets that
Oh
mutant
yeah,
gene
yeah.
and then turns into like water and like breaks. Uh, yeah,
It was terrible.
that's
That's, I don't know why we're laughing.
yeah,
It's so horrifying
yeah,
disease. Thank goodness it is fictional.
right.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
I
but
think I
it's
have the
definitely a
same kind of
unique
thought there.
challenge.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had the same thought. It's kind of just like a degrading and then melting. I'm thinking
Mm.
like a sci-fi version of just like this gel. I'm not even sure what the word is. Water,
Gelatinous.
gelatinizing, gelatinizing. Just kind of like a blurb, and it's putrid, etc. Uh, yeah, it's not a very nice thing, and I wonder, if our virus was as bad as it was, would
Mm.
how things would go, right? And I hope it would go the way this book went, which was, let's take it seriously. Everyone's gonna comply
Yeah.
with the rules, because it's pretty intense. But then you have a contingent, right? So why was the Krytos plot so effective?
Mm. It's a big question. Um, okay, it was evil. Like this is
Yeah.
Mhm.
mad to unleash a
Yeah.
virus on a population. No matter canon,
Genocide.
yeah, genocide exactly.
Mhm.
Whether even canon or legends, both have had genocidal post-emperor empire stories, and that's probably pretty accurate. If there was a super powerful maniacal empire who had magical powers, who if he couldn't have power, nobody could, kind of thought,
Mhm.
burn it down. So it's a, I guess, realistic, thought process, but it's pretty effective. Like I've said before, this book and this kind of story arc kind of threw me for a loop because I expect these books to be about X-wing pilots in the cockpit blowing stuff up, and this story in particular, you can't fight a virus by blowing it up in a cockpit of an X-wing. So that's one of the elements that I think makes it dangerous. Is that you got to do, the characters have to get out of their X-wings or their ships and do other things. So it's effective for the story, but it's also effective, as a weapon.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Emily?
Well, I mean, it's definitely a challenging time in the New Republic era. It is kind of surprising that it lands in the middle of an X-Wing series
Mm-hmm.
because it is not very heavy on combat. It's mostly just the trial of Corran Horn and and then a New Republic battling to fight a global pandemic that is
Yeah.
straight up genocide and trying to battle misinformation and subterfuge. And I mean, it kind of envelops several different layers of warfare. There's psychological warfare
Yeah.
of like instilling fear in the entire planet of Coruscant and the galaxy of like who's going to be in charge, like who has the cure, what is the cure, how can we get
Yeah.
help. And then so that's the psychological component, and then there's also the biological component. I mean, it's a legitimate virus that can be spread and cannot, as we know it, be stopped. So how do you handle the biological warfare agent? So I mean, it's very complex, but I was a little bit surprised that this landed in an X-Wing book.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very the one thing about the book, and I see the notes here in the show notes, and it's very true. The trial,
Mhm.
the whole Krytos plot, and Corran breaking out of prison,
Mm-hmm.
all of those are very seamless, and they
Mhm.
just, there's no, it almost seems like it ends where it needs to, and you start into the next section, right? Just like it's
Yeah.
perfectly written that way,
It works
and
for sure.
It does.
it really does work, and it really gets you to the 14th read of this book. I feel like I don't even know how many times I've read it, but it feels like 14 times. But it feels like there's so much that is unsaid in this book because they don't specify it until the very end. But it's the amount of counter intelligence and intelligence operations that are happening
Mhm.
behind the scenes, that we don't even see in this book, which is all, was it Dairy Coat? No, sorry,
That's the
that's the
general
wrong.
who made the
Yeah.
virus.
Yeah, that's the general.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think of Pash Kraken,
Uh,
Kraken Senior. I think it's
yeah.
Kraken Senior.
Kraken
Yeah.
Senior. There you
Mhm.
go.
Yeah, Kraken Senior, not Kraken Junior, who's in Rogue Squadron. And they have Irish accents in the book, which is
Yeah.
uh, enlightening. I like it. It's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Something
And
different.
it's like, oh,
Kraken.
this is typical Isard in her typical game. It's like all this destruction and death just for a game, you know? And it's
It's kind of
terrifying.
insane. Yeah, like cuz I feel like in most situations military leaders are trained because they're really good at striking military targets and not civilian targets.
Mm.
Yeah.
And all ISAR does basically is target civilians. So I'm kind of surprised that she made it up as high as she did. I don't know. It lets me question a lot of the Empire's like education. I don't
Mhm.
know. Like, how does a woman like this get that high up
Yeah.
in like the good Empire? You know, because like there was a time when the Empire was good and then it twisted and became bad. I mean, like the root of it was bad, but there were a lot of really good elements about it.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious how a woman like Izard got into the place that she is.
Well, the Empire is evil,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
for
it
sure.
was run by a Sith, and you can sit on the Sith side and say, well, how is that evil? And then you read Bane on what a true Sith is, and it's no remorse for any. It's basically a bit psychopathic, I would say. Like it reminds me of, what is it? No Country for Old Men. Uh, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but that actor, uh,
No idea.
no care for life. It doesn't matter. But also
Yeah,
the whole genocidal factor, right? Like smart to pit people
Yes.
against each other,
it is.
because
Evil
that's
genius.
it's so simple. You just do something and you don't even have to get involved. You let them fight amongst themselves,
Mm-hmm.
which is a virus in itself, right?
Ooh.
Mm, so
So
true.
the whole genocidal thing is very interesting, because the anti-speciesism uh, in the Empire is pretty intense, and on the other hand, you've got the New Republic trying to. I'm not sure what's going on
Rick,
here,
what
but
in the world?
I can't
Why
wait
are
to
you
hear it.
laughing?
Sorry. My
As
brain
we-
just caught up. Quick
Okay,
quick
we'll
joke.
we'll get back to you. Hopefully, you can make it funny for the rest of the class.
Okay. Do you want me to share it now or just wait?
Go ahead, man. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah.
I was still thinking about what Emily was saying a minute ago about, what happened to the Empire. It used to be this great force for good kind of thing, and I was thinking about we should have a campaign, make the Empire great again, and it's mega.
Okay.
But I'm just gonna move
Mega.
on. I'm just gonna
What?
move on. Yeah.
That's a thing.
That probably should have just
Uh,
stayed in my head.
Mega? Oh my
That's probably yeah. Anyway, we'll
move on. Just move on.
We'll go. It's a good one, Rick.
Oh,
It's a good
man.
one.
Oh my
Very
goodness.
memeable there.
It's memeable.
So, the Empire is very anti-speciesism. At least in the book, we get a sense of, the humans do the decision making, and the embrace for the species tends to be for the species that are kind of intense. Very hunter warlike soldiers. They're used for their purposes. They're not used for their brain. If they use them for their brain, they have to make, the Empire would have to make them weak by something. In my opinion, that's how it is. But what is your view on the anti-speciesism in the Empire, the embrace in the New Republic, and how does that play out in this book? Because it's pretty intense. Let's go with Rick and Emily. Doesn't matter. Whoever wants to go first.
I'm still gathering my thoughts, Emily, if you got something.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely interesting. So you have the Empire is definitely anti non-human species. So they're very pro-human, mainly because of the Emperor's prejudice, right? And the New Republic kind of got a lot of fighters and a lot of soldiers from non-humans. So that was it's a very interesting tactic that I started specifically targeted non-humans because that was the New Republic, basically. Like humans are the privileged in the Empire for the most part. And so it is interesting. I wonder why I started targeted the non-humans. I know that she thinks like several layers deep. So what are all of the reasons you think that she targeted specifically non-humans?
Well, I think one is look at the council itself, right? There's some Mon Calamarians, Bothans who are not affected. I think they're also being, I think the Bothans play the gray line of they probably got fingers in every pie, and the Empire is one of them. But it's a tough one. I mean, I think it's you've got some very interesting people and I think it comes down to the difference, right? The Empire does not like different; they like conformity, and that's one thing. That's one that I guess you could say, but then also the second part, which is going back to the council, you do have some people, and they're spraying back to mist inside of the council chamber or wherever they're adjourning or wherever they hang out. Those senators, I guess. I don't know. What are we calling them? The council, the high council?
I don't know.
The provisional council, I think.
The provisional council. Okay,
yeah,
so
I
the
think that's how
provisional
they refer
council.
to it in the book.
Imagine a couple of them getting wiped out. Then what does that really do to the New Republic? That creates chaos.
Yeah.
It definitely specifically targets the New Republic because there aren't very many non-humans in the Empire.
They're
what's
mixed all
left of
throughout.
it?
Everyone has like an equal chance at whatever position. So it's spread evenly, I guess.
Well, I think also it exacerbates the question of, is the New Republic better than the Empire? And so I think what's her face, Izard, she she targets the civilians because she wants them to question whether or not the New Republic's any better. Because with the Empire, it might have been, speciesist and chauvinistic too, by the way, because like most of the Admiralty were men, human male, and so a lot of factors there. So like that's why like Izard and Dahlia are kind of hidden somewhere else. Maybe that's just retconning it in the lore, but I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, she's targeting the civilians and getting them to question their allegiance to the New Republic, and making it where, like you said, Freddie, it's like a mental game virus as much as it is a physical virus. They loyalties and motives, everything is up for debate now. Do the humans who are on the provisional council or whatever, are they really, do they have a hand in all of this? Are they trying to actually be against some of these species out there and really trying to maintain the control that the Empire held? Or is this really, truly, an even playing ground? So it opens up the can of worms of all those questions being discussed. So it just breeds chaos and breeds, it takes more control away. Yeah.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, and this book definitely pits a lot of different things together, right? There's a lot of political play. There's the virus itself, right? The partisan politics that are happening, the virus, the misinformation of what the citizens are thinking are happening to the people with the Krytos. They think they're just taking them to camps and like exterminating them, so they don't want to get help, right? And then of course we have all the star destroyers that are hidden in the planet, which is kind of terrifying.
Super star destroyers.
Seriously,
like it's not just
super
itty bitty star destroyers, which are massive. It's city size super star destroyers.
Rick, you should try to see if you can look up some facts there on the on what a super star destroyer looks like. And then of course,
I would actually be really interested in that. I didn't catch that as a super star destroyer.
We have Corran Horn's ego as a danger.
Oh
man, gotta look out.
We know that we know that ego can cause a lot of unfortunate stuff. So what do you think were the most dangerous forces, or the most dangerous force in this Krytos Trap book here? What do you think? Out of all of the things that happened, there was not just the virus. There's the politics. There's a lot. I mean, they're being pit against each other. The Republic's being pit against the fighters, right? The soldiers and stuff. They want to go do their own thing, and there's a lot of rebellion happening within the rebellion.
Yeah, I mean,
so
what do
you guys think? Yeah, go Emily.
Oh, well, I think for sure it's misinformation, I think, is the most dangerous, because an idea can take root and spread. You can contain a virus for the most part. It's difficult, but it can be ultimately contained. An idea that the New Republic can't protect you any more than the Empire could have, that is dangerous. And that could take down everything. That can take down governments. And it's propaganda. So yeah, I think that ultimately is the most, but followed very closely by the Krytos virus, because oh my goodness. Like, can you imagine being in like the brainstorming meeting where they were like, hey, let's create this fictional virus, and like, by the way, it's only going to target non-human species and it's going to melt them from the inside. Like, what? That's insane.
What about you, Rick?
So I'm looking up Star Destroyer specs, but I can talk at the same time. So I think the meeting point between the political and the physical, the medical, is the containment of Bacta. And so, Bacta is the cure. It's the way to process and get this virus out of these people's bodies, but it's a substance that is controlled by different factions, species, whatever, and it's now become politicized. And so that to me is a dangerous force that it's a physical need, but now it holds political power and military power, because that's like the only action in the book is fighting over a back to shipment.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
for me, it all comes down to the Bacta, which I think is
Logistics.
logistic. Isn't that the name of the? What's the next book?
The next book is
good
the Back to
question.
War.
So there we go. Foreshadowing.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. Foreshadowing. Yeah. So that's the thing, right? Battles are won not by, how many people have been killed in action. It's really the logistics. The logistics as everything in war. So
Mhm.
being
It is.
able to create chaos amongst every single thing, be it the High Council has its own chaos. I'm pretty sure that hold on, I got to look at my dramatis personae. Let's see here. Oh, I think it was right, but by the way, Lieutenant Pash Kraken.
Hmm.
I was right on that one. So let me see. Who am I looking for here? I'm looking for the Bothan that Borsk, of course.
Oh my gosh.
Borsk
This dude.
Phalia.
Mm.
Borsk Phalia,
What a
the
snake.
guy you love to hate. Yeah. I would
what
say-
a snake.
And it's a very she's playing on him too. So I feel like with politics, she's playing with every single thing that she can, and it's genius, honestly, that she managed to hide the whole super star destroyer in Coruscant. I mean, imagine you're in a city, pick your favorite city, and let's go with Boise. I don't know, and you're living in Boise, hanging out, and then you decide to go hiking, and then you just see the whole downtown area just start to lift up from the ground, and then from there you saw it keeps going, and now there's more ground, right? Because I'm sure this thing's huge. It's a city size.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know how many kilometers, Rick, if you got that yet.
It's 8,000 meters, which is about 5 miles. Yeah.
Are you serious right now?
It's crazy big. Yeah, an Imperial
5
class Star Destroyer
miles?
was 1,600 meters, and a Super Star Destroyer is 8,000 meters. So yeah, almost
my
5
gosh.
miles. It's
So imagine
City.
5 miles of not just straight, right? Not just straight. We're talking, ooh, look at me going crazy here. We're talking like the wedge cheese coming up
yeah,
from the ground.
not Wedge Antilles, but
Wedge
sorry.
Antilles coming up from the ground. Yeah, so you've got this massive thing coming up under the ground, and it's like, okay, we were dealing with a virus. We were dealing with these partisan politics that we're all playing at this moment. We're dealing with the propaganda, the terrorism,
Mhm.
right? And now we've got a humongous thing coming up from the ground, which in my opinion, that was actually the weakness. Because once that happened, it was like, hey, look, everyone, see, we told you. The Empire was here messing things up. That kind of changes the whole thing. Like the propaganda
It
machine can work in
does.
right, in their favor. If she had stayed there, she could have seen probably the end of the the Republic,
Seriously.
in my opinion, right?
Yeah,
so,
or like take like an escape pod, man. Like don't just bring your whole freaking Super Star Destroyer up. Like I don't know. That was a bold move. That's another thing I would have loved to be in the brainstorming meeting when the author was like, "Okay, hear me out.
Yeah.
yeah,
We're gonna place the Super Star Destroyer in the crust of Coruscant, and no
Crazy.
one is gonna remember that it's there. No one."
What? Yeah, I mean, it was cool. I can't remember what book is it where was it 3PO and the Solo children are like on the base level of Coruscant, and
Oh,
like
yeah.
the machines are like rebuilding the city around them, and
Yeah.
yeah.
was that Heir to the Empire or that trilogy?
Oh my goodness,
I
I
don't
don't know
think
why
so.
I'm blanking on that.
Okay.
It's
Anyway,
we've definitely
How much
reviewed
chat
that.
now?
okay,
Right. I
yeah.
even made a joke today to Steven. Steven, if you're listening,
Jedi
Steven
Academy. Okay,
Jedi-
thanks
Smith.
everybody.
Okay, Jedi
Jared
Academy.
is
There you
just
go.
like
Yeah.
here in the
Jared.
chat.
Yeah,
He's here
Yeah.
for us.
Jared and
Um,
Skooma got us here.
yeah,
Yeah, we're C3PO. He's the nanny. Doesn't want to be, but
right.
he is.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
But my point in bringing that up is, the city, it changes all the time.
Yeah.
And so I can see how it's possible that people just forget that there's a Super Star Destroyer there.
Anything
And
is possible with logistics.
that's right, man. That'll preach. Says the
Logistics.
engineer. Yeah, no. What was I gonna say? Emily, you mentioned it'd be fun to be part of the conversation. That's like, what can we put in this book? And they're like, Super Star Destroyer, but it's in the planet. Like, that's cool. But I
And
love.
there's a
so
virus.
cool.
And there's a virus. I love how well they thought through like the physics of having a Super Star Destroyer in the planet. Like, they had the cradle that they had to build to lift it out of orbit because it's such a massive ship. It was never designed to be in a planet's atmosphere. And so they thought through, okay, how are we going to lift it out? And then the whole gravity thing about how the ship is so large, it generates its own like gravitation. That was good. You know, that's what I'm here for in sci-fi is
That's legit.
yeah, all those little details. So that was cool.
And how did Corran Horn figure that out in like a couple days or like
So
a
that's a
week?
good
Like it was
question.
not long.
Yeah, that's a good question. When did you start to figure out that it was a superstar destroyer? Because that's a, I didn't know until it came out, and I was like, oh
Same.
man.
Same was like, man, we just really didn't know about that at all. Like,
What was the okay. I think it was in the Crimson Empire comics. We spoiler for at some point, I don't know when, but at some point the New Republic captures the Lusankya, and in the Crimson Empire comic, I think the recaptured Lusankya appears, and so it mentions real quick in the comic that. Yeah, this Super Star Destroyer used to belong to Izard and the Empire, but now it's ours, blah, 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 and it has a big New Republic crest on it. And so, in my mind, I've been hanging on to that because I knew that Izard and the Lusankya was this terrifying Super Star Destroyer. And so, I knew that it was a Super Star Destroyer that he was on the whole time.
Well, look at you.
But I totally forgot that it was on Coruscant. And so I kept,
Okay.
I was like, what planet are they in? I don't know, Corran. You better figure this out because I don't know. And then it's like, what? You're on Coruscant? And like, you could hear my brain
that
blowing
was
up.
pretty
So,
crazy.
yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, he just like pops over like it's nothing, just walks. He literally walks from the Star Destroyer to the courtroom.
I was like, how is he going to make it in time? They're going to kill Tycho, you know? But,
Yeah.
I know,
Well,
the
fun
timing.
fact about the Lusankya. It's named after the Lubyanka, which is an infamous KGB prison
Really?
in Russia. Yeah.
I mean, there were signs.
Yeah. Yeah, there were.
There's
That's
very
true.
few examples of like straight up cruelty in this world that haven't come from Russia.
Knock, knock.
Anyway,
Knock,
yeah.
knock.
Who's there?
Who's there?
KGB.
KGB.
We will ask the questions.
You can use that one next time at one of your jokes, Emily. See if it works. Bring
Apparently
yourself
that's what
back.
I'm missing. Knock knock jokes. No, but so I loved the part of Lustankia where like there's a line that tells like it helps the guards to know where down is. Like that is so brilliant.
Yes, that too. Yeah.
I remember like I was like, that blew my mind.
And you know what, Skooma Joe in the chat, and I remember this. I actually recall this. It's when Wedge, I believe it's when Wedge. Yeah, when Wedge becomes a general, he actually gets the Lusankya as his commanding ship.
Yeah. Okay.
It's pretty cool.
That is exciting.
I didn't know
The gift of his
any that.
enemy.
Yeah.
So
I'm
this
gonna
was
put-
very surprising for me.
Yeah.
I should have known from Crimson Empire, but I kind of zone out on ships. I don't pay as close attention to them.
It hurts.
I know, which is why I love talking to you guys because you love ships. It's
Oh
like
yeah.
the beauty of Star Wars. There's something
would
for
say-
everybody.
You know how
Mhm.
there are fans of airplanes, right? They just love airplanes. I would
Mhm.
say those are the exact same people that love the ships of of Star Wars. Like me, I love airplanes. Rick loves
Yeah.
airplanes. Carl, Andrew Bell loves airplanes. We all love X-wing fighters,
Mm-hmm.
TIE interceptors, Lusankya. We love the Lusankya.
I
As a
never thought
wedge.
about that. There are just people that love airplanes. I
Oh
remember
yeah.
we flew into DC to visit my in-laws, and like they literally took us to like across the street from the airport, and we literally watched airplanes land for like half an
Ooh.
hour. And
Yeah.
I just kept looking around like, is this an activity that we're doing right now? Like, are we just like here? We're just here to watch airplanes land.
Yeah.
Because like I just view it as like, okay, yeah, it's a vehicle that takes me cool places. And that's kind of how I read the books too, is I like kind of
That's so
skim
funny.
over like the vehicle stuff. I'm like, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
whatever. Get me to the people.
I
They
love it.
People are the
are.
interesting part too.
Listen, the ships are characters too. Okay.
They are. They
But
really
I
I
are.
mean,
respect your opinion.
clearly
Yes.
this ship is insane. I'm gonna have to start paying closer attention, man.
So we've got
Crazy.
okay, Borskvalia.
Borsk.
All right.
Oh my
I
gosh.
just talked about Borsk. He's despicable. Can we all
Mhm.
agree to that?
Despicable.
Why is he so despicable? What does he do? Because he does a lot, and it's very crooked. It's very what would you say? There's a lot of self-righteousness in him.
Hmm.
Emily, go ahead. You're good at analyzing characters.
Well, he's the tough one. So he has it out for Akbar, which is bizarre to me that like that's specifically the guy that he's gunning for. But he's got all sorts of things lined up to make Akbar fail. He's also playing a part in the back doors. I think we see a lot of him in the fourth book of the series. That's a theory. I don't know that. I haven't read it yet. But let's see. He's kind of it's sort of like he's playing both sides. Like he's definitely power grabbing in the New Republic, definitely undermining leaders to put himself and other Bothans in a higher power. Um, help me out a little bit though, because it's been a week or two. So
Yeah, he's just very
he's
yeah,
slimy.
he's slimy. He's very sly. He's very I'm trying to think of the word self gratifying, right?
Yes.
He's trying to do stuff for him and his people without really I
Mhm.
would say he would work on the Imperial side, and I feel like he's on the Republic because he knows they're gonna win.
Yes. Well, that's the thing is they've got hands in both sides. And so
Yeah.
it's like
That's a good
they
way. Yeah.
it's sort of like they kind of shift with whoever happens to be in power.
Well, and they would
Yeah.
never let him have leadership because they were so
Mhm.
anti-specious that wasn't even an option. And so this is his only chance for power now. But yeah, maybe um, his motivations are off.
Hmm.
Definitely.
And what is it? He tries to turn one of the Rogue Squadron pilots. What is her name again? It's not a
Uh,
Reese, but it's like another one that has a Y
let's
and an
get
S
back.
in it.
Let's get back in here. Let's go
Eureka?
look
The
in
one
our
that's
book.
dating Gavin.
Nope, that's not.
Yeah, the one that's dating Gavin. That is Asir
Asir.
Salar.
That's it.
Yeah,
A seer. Yes. So he like has a secret meeting with her that tries to get her to turn on the rest of Rogue Squadron, basically. And she doesn't in the end, which is super noble and a little unexpected for her character, I have to say. I'm a little bit surprised that she stuck with Rogue Squadron. Mad respect. Thank you.
Mhm.
But yeah, so he like tries, he's like got it in for Rogue Squadron too, which is so strange. Like why would that be a target for him?
Totally. Yeah, he's very self-gratifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very despicable. You love to hate him. I think Jared said it in the chat. Borsk is the worst.
The worst. Oh, Jared. We miss you,
So
man.
yeah, we do. We definitely miss you. We definitely miss you. Let's see here. I love the way that Jared. So even though his voice is gone, his voice is in the
He's
notes.
still very
He's still
present.
he's in the notes in the show notes here, and I'm gonna read it just like he wrote it here. We would be remiss. There we go. If we didn't mention the brand new unabridged audiobook performance by Mark Thompson. Oh, 10 out of 10 in my opinion.
Oh yeah,
What is
100%.
Yeah, there he is. Look at Mark Thompson. We got to
What a
see him,
gem.
talk to him. Yeah, he is a gem.
I was so excited. He came by
That
the booth
is-
at Celebration for you audio listeners. This is a picture of him holding a lightsaber in his High Republic Jedi getup at the Utini booth at Celebration 2022.
Mm.
It was probably one of the most exciting moments of Jared's life. I know for most of the team, it was a high point of the entire weekend. But yeah, love the guy. Does a great job.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. What was your favorite? Did you listen to the audiobook, Emily? I'm assuming you did.
I did. I did.
Okay. What was your favorite part of his narration? Or I guess just the
Oh.
audiobook itself. The production was fantastic. Uh,
I
but what,
love the addition of like the audio tracks. I think it definitely heightens the sense of urgency when you're reading and you know which parts are important because there's music playing. Um, Sometimes it's harder to tell, but like you can tell when something is building up because the music starts to build up. Um, that's a good question. I hadn't really considered what my favorite part of the audio drama was. What are your favorite parts?
I love the names, the ones that I didn't know
Mm,
how to say.
Yeah.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Excellent point.
That always helps me. Although, there's a whole thing with Ginge and Zinj,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't say that the audiobook gets it right all the time, right? Because we've got rankers.
Hmm.
We've got rankers everywhere.
Yeah.
Uh, but I would say when I listen to his voice and I listen to it carefully because I admire voiceover work. I think it's fantastic. And to hear how he emphasizes his words and how when he emphasizes them, I'm sure he's got a lot of direction. There's a lot of crew telling him how and what to say. But I would say his the way he reads the books, the way he reads, and of course, if you put it to one speed, right, it's very enunciated, very clear, concise. You're gonna hear every single word. But I just think the guy is an absolute artist
Hmm.
when it comes to this stuff. I have no idea how else to explain it.
Yeah. I'll piggyback off that, and yeah, for me, Mark Thompson is like the voice of Star Wars books,
Mm.
because like I have so many memories of the different books, and I can think about where I was when I'm listening, all that kind of stuff. And I know he doesn't do all of them, but he does a lot of them, and he does them really well.
Hmm.
And yeah, so I don't know. For me, it's the familiarity and the comfort, but that's why I'm excited that these like we're going back and we're doing these legends books some justice and giving them unabridged recordings because they're great stories and now they're getting the production value they need. Um, so yeah, Mark Thompson did great as always.
Mm.
He keeps it accessible with all the action, keeps it engaging. Like you guys said, the sound effects, the music, the different character voices, it's all just superb. It just highlights the story too. Um, it's not really surprising that the audiobook is great because it's a great story, but all the
Hmm.
factors come together and just make it really really good.
Yeah,
For sure.
definitely, definitely. Yeah, that was I couldn't said it any better myself.
Hmm.
The man's voice is 100% Star Wars books to me, and
Yep.
uh, just listening to everything he says, and Emily having the audio tracks, production itself. I'm so glad that we are getting this level of attention for Legends books, right? I mean,
I
Legends is
know.
fantastic. I love Legends, and the fact that we're
Hmm.
getting these productions, the books as well to collect, and even to reread. Like these are coming out, and I bet you there are people reading them who have not picked up the Essential Legends collections or any Legends books in a while. And not just that, there are other people that pick these up who have no idea what Star Wars is, and maybe their first book is a Legends book because of these.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
all of that, yeah, exactly. All of that it brings joy to me. It makes me feel like I love talking about this stuff. I love reading this stuff. I was obsessed with the release schedules of all the books, and at the time when it wasn't a huge thing and Utini didn't exist, it was your own self who got yourself hyped up. And and there were things though, like for instance Del Rey, they had I'll never forget this, Jared will remember this. They had a Star Wars action team, and this was like a thing of like the 2000s and the 90s. It was very much like a street team. Like they would get volunteers to basically be brand ambassadors, and um, you would tweet
Really?
about things. Yeah, you would tweet about things. You get points for it if you can prove it. You rate the book in any application, and you get points and you get free books because of it. But it was very 90s 2000s thing to like get people to basically do your marketing for you.
Mm.
And you know, having Mark Thompson read the Krytos Trap to me was fantastic. I've read this book so many times. I have multiple copies of these sitting around the house because I forget that I buy them, and I just buy Legends books whenever I see them. For I don't have a list like everybody else. I just buy them all the time, and I'll just give them out as presents. But
That's
being
awesome.
able to hear the book was, putting myself in the cockpit, hearing hearing the remorse in Mark Thompson's voice when he talked about Mirax being just absolutely mentally destroyed by the
Mm.
fact that this person that she really cared about, and we all know, well, some of us know what that feels like, right? That love, and the love of a girlfriend, boyfriend, uh, husband, wife, whatever, mom, dad, doesn't matter, from anybody, your friends. Losing that is really tough, and I have never read it that way. And having Mark Thompson speak it to me that way, though, it really like paints this picture in my head of
Mm.
how sad and pissed off everybody is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they got Coruscant, but no, they lost, like, they thought, at least they thought they lost their best friend and their the guy who always had their six, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So
Yeah, there's so much loss in this book. I mean, there's Corran, who everybody thinks is dead, and then Ayala loses her husband at the end, where she gets him back at the beginning of the book, and then it turns out that he's a sleeper agent, and she has to kill him in the end.
Mm-hmm.
So it's such a torn book. I mean, there is loss all around where important characters die for good reasons, and then some die for no good reason, and it's
yeah,
just
Yeah.
it really hurts to read.
Yeah.
I feel like the author did a really great job doing that. But
Mm-hmm.
absolutely, yeah,
The whole
yeah.
being a prisoner thing too, and having to mentally stay in there and escape, and seeing the other prisoners and their mentality of, do we risk trying to get out? Do we bide our time? Like, what's the cost benefit? I guess on all
yeah.
that. Um,
I think that this, listening to the audiobook, and I know, and Scuba Joe in the chat has not listened to a Star Wars audiobook.
I don't
Scuba,
even know
I
what that means.
recommend I recommend you take a listen to a book that you've read many times. Start with Rogue Squadron. Man, it's beautiful. All of them. This one is fantastic as well. Another part in the book, for example, is let's go back to what you just talked about, being in prison, Rick. Like the
mm-hmm.
the the person in prison who's been there for, how long was he there for? 20 years, Jan?
Shouldn't have been 20, but it was
It was
since the war. Like, I mean, the war's kind of still going, but like, how far are we after the Battle of Yavin? We need our timeline
we're
people on this.
I
we're fairly
know.
soon after. I mean, the New Republic just took Coruscant. Before that, uh,
It's seven
is it
years?
is it
Okay.
7 years?
So
I think
General
so.
Jan Dodonna is who we're talking about. He's in A New Hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, Skuma's pointing that out. And so it's been several years that he has been in prison by the Empire.
Yeah,
And so long enough that you're not sure what to do, right?
Jan
Mm.
Donna. Yeah. So that's the thing, right? It after this book, it's like, we need to go save my buddies.
Yeah.
I was just there.
Mm-hmm.
There is no hope. Everyone has lost hope. They saw me escape, and there's now hope probably permeating through them. And there's no way we're gonna end this book, or end this series where we're at. We need to go save my buddies. And there was nothing before that. I felt it, but hearing Mark Thompson again say it, and
Mhm.
listening to that story and listening to their voices, right? Because that's what he does. He does their voices as if they were saying it,
Mm.
and listening to the hopelessness, like, don't keep your head down, or, keep your head down and don't do anything. out of the ordinary, or you're gonna he gets hurt, right? Jan the man gets hurt.
Oh
and
man, hold up. Okay.
Go ahead.
I want to see a Les Mis Lusanka mashup. You know,
Ooh.
you just are saying, keep your head down.
Look
Look
down,
down.
look
Look
down.
down.
Oh man,
That would be great.
That would be something.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Les Mis Star Wars edition.
Can
Star
you
Wars
hear
edition.
the rebels singing the songs of angry aliens? Okay, sorry.
I want Mark Thompson to sing that.
Yes, yes. That would be awesome.
Well, I think we've hit a lot of our topics. Is there anything we're missing, Emily? Anything you want to talk about with Krytos Trap?
God.
Last thoughts?
I'm waiting.
Yeah, just last thoughts are like there is just more and more the more you dig. I mean, it was such a complex and entertaining read. Like if you want to just skim it, there's something for you. If you want to sit and really dive in and discuss, there's something there for you too. So highly recommend. This was a really engaging read.
I keep waiting for Jared to make an appearance like Corran Horn at the end of his own, murder trial. So Jared, here's your chance. One more chance. Just pop on by, upstage us. Yeah. So
We're keeping the camera on just in case.
Just in case. Just in case.
We'll leave the light on for you.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was a commercial. What about you, Rick? Yeah. What are some last thoughts? Anybody else? Anything else we should talk about?
So I liked how this book, it closed some loose ends. It ties up the whole who's the spy kinda, and is Tycho good or bad? The whole there's just a lot of character growth across the board of the squadron, but it's definitely a turning point, right? There's still more to the plot, but at the same time, it's kind of the end of an era, or at least it's I don't know. Who writes the next book, Back to War?
Let me see. That is Michael Stackpole.
Okay, so we still have
Did he write the whole series?
No, he wrote like the first 4 or 5.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I'm not sure. Number 6 stands in my head, but it could be 4 or 5. Yeah, I can't recall now.
But it's definitely a turning point in the story, I feel. But I haven't read yet beyond here, so I'm excited to see what's next. I decided that because of the race to the finish, I don't think I'm going to wait for the audiobook. I'm just going to start reading the next one. It's been driving me nuts because they're going too slow for me. But I'm glad that we're getting them. So
yes,
I'm just ready to keep going.
100%.
So we have Rogue Squadron, which was released in 1998, and that was by Aaron Alston, and then Iron Fist after that too, in the same year. So I think it's the first 4 by Stackpole, and then we've got Stackpole does come back though on Isard's Revenge, and that was released in 1999. And then we've got some more Starfighters of Audumar, which is written by Aaron Alston as well. So it looks like they go back and forth, but story. These books are fantastic. Every single time I finish one, I want to pick up the next one, and I'm glad I don't have to remember what it was like when they first came out, because just having to wait a couple of years or a year to get the newest release of X-Wing was always a treat. That's for sure.
Yeah,
so
that's a good way to look at it. It's a good time to be a Legends fan, because don't you hate waiting for that next book to come out? You got them all.
You don't have to.
Yeah,
there you go.
You want a new cover? You just have to wait a couple months. They're just like racking them up.
Yeah,
back to back to back.
Well, let's see. I think we've got some show plugs here. Emily, what are we doing next week? Or the next episode of Legends Lookback.
So football season is back, y'all. The next episode of Legends Lookback, which is going to be Thursday, September 15th, is the Sith Lords Draft Legends Edition. So come with your top draft picks. We are going to be talking all things Sith.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
What does that
Different football.
Yeah, wrong football.
Okay.
I was thinking that it's almost hockey season. That's the only sport I care about. So.
Oh, geez. I tried doing hockey fantasy, and it's just like, that is just a different different thing.
Yeah,
That is
I mean,
nowhere near easy.
I can't do
It's a
any
different
other
sport for sure.
So
Oh my
Totally
gosh.
different.
yep.
Rick, what do we have coming up here on Star Wars Archives?
Okay, so shout out to Star Wars Archives. It's a really, really fun show. And they are 3 Sundays away. So September 25th, 3 Sundays away from releasing episode 50. Whoop, whoop. And so that's going to be a Patreon exclusive. There's not going to be a public release for this show. Episode 49 drops this coming Sunday, and the excitement for this really cool milestone has been building up for it. So if you're not a patron, this is your chance. Get on that Patreon list, membership, that's the one, and be ready for episode 50. That's going to be good.
Yeah, and for those of you that don't know what Star Wars Archives is, it's like our deep dive show. So if you love like really obscure facts about Star Wars, or you really like Welsh accents, then you want Star Wars Archives. It is currently a Patreon exclusive show, but man, is it worth it. It is so entertaining. 2 of our teammates, Trevor and was it Joxy? Is that his anyway,
Jose, Joxy.
Yeah, Jose. Jared always refers to him as Joxy, so I'm not really sure if he's like a Jose or a Joxy. I'm not really sure. Anyway, it's an excellent show.
It is. I'm a huge fan of it. If there's one thing on the Utini network that I would listen to continuously, and I couldn't listen to my show, because I love listening to the old stuff, because I remember, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. When I reread books and I forget about it. It's always fun to go back and listen to our episodes. I love it. But Star Wars Archives, they hit it out of the park every single time. I would say every time we get Trevor on the show too, to just give us a flavor of what that Star Wars Archives is.
Ooh, yeah.
It really gets the views, if you know what I mean. Like the Death Star plans. Hey, let's talk about the Death Star and everything we need to know about it. That's what you can get at Star Wars Archives.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a good show.
Legit.
Yeah.
Good show.
Well, that does it. Good show. Rest in peace, by the way,
yes.
the Queen.
Yes.
But yeah, that does it this week. Thanks for joining us on Legends Look Back. Thanks to our incredible patrons for your support. We love making this show, and we are glad you're along for the ride. And a special thanks to our Jedi High Council, Brian Dooley, Earl Q, Robert Thomas, Patrick Ortiz, and Carl Sander. And we've got the Alliance High Command, Elizabeth Cloutier, and Sally and Chris Eilerson. Remember to sub to the channel and leave us a review in your podcast platform of choice. We want your thoughts read on the show. You can always contact us. You can find our information in the description. We're on Twitter at Legends Look Back. If you're looking to buy some of these books and want help support the show, look up your book on Utini and click the Amazon link and hit that thing. Go buy it. We all profit from it. We get to make some cool content. We don't have to spend all of our own money anymore. and of course, you can always find me at Wake Up Freddy, and Emily
At Darth Dayback.
and Rick.
At Rick_Grace.
And I'm pretty sure Jared is at Jared Q Mays or at Salacious Crumb, one of the two. And remember to keep to the Utini fan code and be a force for positivity in the fandom. May the force be with you. I could do that. Ciao.